Okay.
Great.
Interview on my show now. No stranger to my show. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Rachael Sage, introducing you on.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me back on your show.
Always welcome. And it didn't seem that long ago since we last interviewed, but so much does happen. So it's always good to like re-invite you back on my show. I think it's
Sure.
been about 3 months since then. You've been on tour with Lulu, and then you went back home, and then you're coming back over here again.
I just played The Great Escape in Brighton. So that was a first and a whirlwind and so exciting. And I already know I want to come back and do it again next year.
Oh,
So
brilliant. Where are you in the world right now? Are you here in the UK still?
I'm in London. This is our big radio day, and I do fly back to the States tomorrow. But believe it or not, I'll be back in the UK for some festivals and some shows, primarily in London for now in July. And
Great.
then also I have an exciting announcement. I'll be touring with Hue and Cry in
Mhm.
November.
Sure, Hue and Cry, they were Scottish legends in the 80s, Labour of Love, made famous for.
Yeah,
Brilliant, I remember
be a
them.
lot of fun.
Nice. And this new album is called Another Side.
Yes,
Um,
got it right
Brilliant.
here.
Yeah, is
Match my
that
outfit.
nice? Is that available now to purchase for my listeners if they
It
wish
came
to?
out on, yes, Friday was the big release day. So it's out everywhere now, wherever people want to listen to their music. And, it was a real labor of love because I toured behind these songs for the better part of a year since it came out in July. And just reconnecting with people in person and performing acoustically, of course, the songs take on a new life. So I
Hmm.
basically stripped it back to what I do live, but added some spice, the odd special guests and some wonderful harmony singers, mandolin and harmonica, that sort of rootsy
Yeah.
approach.
You're still keeping the beautiful sounds then.
I hope so.
Yeah.
You'll let me know.
Yeah, of course, of course. On this album, on my notes, it says this album comprises of acoustic folk and like classic 70s songs. But I know this album's like 2024. So, the 70s, was that kind of inspirational for you to put this into the album?
A little bit in terms of the original record, The Other Side. That was more when I was thinking about that in terms of the full band production.
Mm.
But for this particular incarnation, honestly, I wasn't thinking about that at all. This is
No,
just very here now. It's like I'm playing in your living room, but invited all my favorite acoustic musicians, cellists, violinists, as I mentioned, some more unique instrumentation, harmonica and mandolin. And then I have some wonderful special guests. The new single Albatross
yeah.
is actually somewhat of a duet with my dear friend and emerging folk artist, Chris Matthews, who sounds a lot like Tracy Chapman. And she's so special and has such a deep, rich tone. So that's fun.
So
And
quintessentially, this is a brand new album.
it's a brand new
Yeah.
album. Yeah, it's the same material, but I kind of liken it to, you know, maybe doing a play on Broadway and then doing a play, in the East Village in some tiny little venue, black box theater, and maybe you're performing all the parts yourself. They're just apples and oranges,
Yeah.
but it's the same songs with a whole different approach and sensibility.
Brilliant. And on this album, I don't know exactly, but there's about 13, 15 tracks on there to appeal to everyone, really.
15, yeah, look at that. I was a busy little bee. Um, but yeah, it's resequenced as well, a totally different order that it really relates more to how I would play these live in a set. The first song is definitely the most driving musically, the place of fun. And then it ends with the duet with Howard Jones, I Made a
Mm.
Case, which is a much more kind of reflective, contemplative track. And I really feel like it's an album that, works best listened to as a whole, but I also know people will find their favorites and
Mm.
they'll listen how they want to listen. And that's what it's all about.
Sure, Howard Jones as well, still going. Um, like he had hits in the 80s, of course. But another song which was from the 80s is Only You covered as well.
I did. And it's a song I've been playing live since my teens. I remember performing it at the Stanford University Coffee House. And, people didn't realize that it wasn't my song, I guess, because I really gave it my own spin. And whenever I do a song, I like to make it my own. My goal is not to do it how the original did it, but of course, I am paying homage and I have so much respect for Yazoo. I grew up on that music
Mm.
and it's just a great pop song. So,
That's nice words. Rebecca as well. That's a lovely name. That's perhaps one of my favorite female
really?
names.
Oh,
Yeah. Where did the inspiration for that come about? Anything to do with the book or anything, or is that completely different?
no, but I do. I've always loved the book. I absolutely love the book. I grew up with that, and I agree it's a beautiful name. I love all the biblical female names. But yeah, it was actually my co-producer, Andy Zula from the other side, who rang me up during lockdown, and he was a bit anxious because his beautiful wife was turning 50 and it was lockdown. So it was hard to know exactly how to celebrate people when we're just home and only with one person. So he decided to do a big Zoom party and ask all his musician friends to come on and sing songs for her. And of course, being the ambitious overachiever I am, he knew that I would be happy to write a song just for her. And so he gave me 24 hours to whip it together in a list of 10 of her finest qualities. And that's what I came up with was the song Rebecca.
Nice. And compiling an album together, is it always a bit tricky to compile the tracks in a certain order, arranging them? Like say your opening track's called The Place of Fun. Is it hard to kind of um know the running order of putting an album together?
It's definitely a thoughtful process. I mean, there have been times when it's come together very quickly, or when I've even had a running sequence that I've kept with maybe one or two swaps. But for this one, I think it was pretty easy. I always think I learned this trick from a wonderful mastering engineer named Greg Calby, who's won a lot of Grammys and he works at Sterling Sound in New York City. And he always told me, don't be overwhelmed by the whole record trying to sequence it at once. Try to find the sort of couplets, the two songs at a time that really seem to belong together and flow one into the other. And then you've got half as many things, sort of chess pieces on the board to play with, and you can try moving those around. But, you know, I think it's a mysterious process. I played with it and I really feel good about it. And I think it has a good flow.
Yeah.
So hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah, very interesting to know like what goes into like the production side of an album, putting everything together. I think that's the first time I've asked that question actually. So thanks for
But
answering that.
it's the big D word. It's about dynamics, and
Hmm.
it's the same process when you play live. When you make a set list, sometimes you want the dynamics to be extreme and wide, and suck people in with a ballad, and then rock their socks off, with a rocker. But other times that can feel jarring, and you can get into a mood and maybe want to stay there a little longer and play two or three songs that are mellower before you lift it up
Hmm.
again. So it's a little bit like
Yeah,
riding a wave and just wanting to make sure people stay engaged.
true. Um, Mentioning opening tracks, A Place of Fun as well. That's the first track off this album.
Yes.
And what's this song entail?
The song starts with a beautiful mandolin part performed by my dear friend and neighbor, Annalise McCoy, who's up in the Hudson Valley in New York with me. And it was so much fun to bring her into my home studio, which we fondly call the Creek, because it's by a creek. And just to have her play in my living room, it was a very relaxed way for the arrangement to come together. And then a whole bunch of my friends and musical colleagues sang harmonies. But the song itself is really, it's kind of misleading because it feels very up tempo and it's very driving. But it is about lamenting those things that you wish you could do that you kind of took for granted when you had complete latitude to pursue them, in the before the pandemic times,
Hmm.
and then sort of yearning and looking forward to when we can do them again. So that's the gist of it.
Nice. Also, a little bit tells me you also do a bit of poetry. You
Oh,
find that inspirational as well. I read your
yeah.
piece on Camden Town, which was very nice.
Aw. Oh, I'm
Um,
glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, I posted that to Facebook yesterday, I
yeah,
think.
and people can follow you on Facebook as well. Is
Yes.
Camden Town quite dear to your heart then?
It's my favorite place when I come
Mm.
over here. I've spent a lot of time there. I've also sort of holed up there when I've had a few days off between festivals and things, and it's not enough time to go back home. But I want to be in one place, and I've written an entire album there, actually. My record Myopia, I wrote in the Holiday Inn in Camden. But I had the Glastonbury Festival on, and I would intermittently turn it on and watch various sets and then put it on pause and go back to my keyboard that was just sitting right on the side of my bed. And then I'd take like long walks and just people watch and listen to conversations in coffee shops and things. I just find it to be a really artistic, expressive place. And of course, so many wonderful musicians and
Mm,
artists come through there.
yeah, a very cosmopolitan place. You're feeling the ambience of your surroundings.
Definitely, yes.
That's good. That's good. And have you played the Camden Club there yet?
I have years ago, but I would like to play it again. So I'll
Nice.
give that little tip to my agent and see what we can do.
Brilliant.
I am back at the Green Note in Camden in July. I forget what date, but I'm going to look it up on my phone right now. July 20th.
Okay, July 20th. Okay, we'll make a note of that and then we'll put that with the description with this interview. Um,
Fabulous.
I think that's everything I wanted to ask you on today's show, but it's lovely catching up with you. Um,
Oh, thank
to-
you so much.
yeah, time goes so quickly, doesn't it? And so much to
It
catch up on and
does. And
everything.
just one last thing I wanted to mention because it's exciting for me is my new single Albatross is out right now. And it's there's a video that's pending and it's going to be very ambitious and any minute now it's going to drop. So I want to encourage folks to follow me on YouTube and hopefully they'll enjoy that.
And I always ask my artists, I always ask with them, out of the album, what song would they like for me to play? I know where there's so many songs I could play, but I want to give you the opportunity to play
Oh.
a song of your preference on my show. What would you like for me to play?
Just by another artist or just
By
anything?
yourself off
By
this
myself.
album. Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you play Only You because we talked about it.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. We'll go with that one. And Rachel Sage, it's a pleasure having you on my show. Your new album out now, Another Side, on good outlets available to buy now.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll
Yeah,
talk to you soon.
my pleasure. Speak to you
Cheers.
soon.
Bye-bye.